7 ancient Japanese rules that cost nothing and quietly rewire how you think. There is a small monastery in Kyoto where monks wake up at 4 a.m. every single day. They don't check their phones, they don't scroll, they don't open a single app. The first thing they do is clean, not because the floor is dirty, but because according to Zen tradition, how you begin a day is how you live a day. Now, you don't need to become a monk to understand what they figured out centuries ago. Because modern psychology is now confirming that these ancient practices always pointed to the problem isn't your workload, your salary, or your environment. The problem is the mental noise you carry into everything you do. And the solution, it turns out, has been hiding in plain sight for over 1,000 years. We live in an era of infinite options and chronic overwhelm. We are constantly stimulated, constantly reacting, constantly behind. And the strange part, most of the weight we carry isn't physical. It's not debt or deadlines, it's mental clutter, the invisible kind. Neuroscience tells us that every unresolved visual cue, every unfinished task, every object out of place sends a small background signal of stress to the brain. Multiply that by a modern apartment, a chaotic morning routine, and a phone full of notifications, and you begin to understand why so many people feel exhausted before noon. What the Japanese understood, long before brain scans existed, is that your outer environment is a direct mirror of your inner state, and if you want to change one, you have to change the other. Today, we'll look at 7 Japanese principles that do exactly that. They cost nothing, they require no app, no subscription, no weekend retreat. They only require one thing: your full attention. Rule 1. Kaizen, the 1% shift. Most people try to change everything at once. New diet, new schedule, new habits, all starting Monday. And by Wednesday, everything collapses. Kaizen is the Japanese philosophy of continuous tiny improvement. The word literally means change for the better, but the practice is almost absurdly small. 1 degree, 1%, one tiny thing done consistently. Here's why this works psychologically. Large changes trigger the brain's threat response. Your nervous system is wired for survival, and dramatic shifts feel dangerous, even when they're positive. Small changes slip under the radar. They don't feel threatening, and over time, they compound into something unrecognizable. Toyota built the most efficient manufacturing system in the world on this principle, not through revolution, through tiny, daily refinements. This week, identify one thing in your daily routine that takes less than 2 minutes to improve. Don't optimize your life, just improve that one thing. Rule 2. Ma, the power of empty space. In Japanese aesthetics, ma refers to the conscious use of negative space. The pause between notes in music, the empty shelf in a room, the silence between sentences. It is not absence, it is intentional presence of nothing. Your brain processes every object in your visual field as a micro-task. A stack of papers on your desk isn't neutral. It's a quiet, constant demand on your attention. Research in environmental psychology shows that reducing visual clutter lowers cortisol levels and measurably improves focus and decision-making. Ma asks you to stop filling space out of habit or anxiety, to resist the impulse to add more, and to start seeing emptiness not as waste, but as room to think. Try this. Choose one surface in your home. Remove everything. Put back only what is essential. Live with that empty space for 1 week. Rule 3. Wabi-sabi, the freedom of imperfection. Perfectionism is one of the most exhausting places to live, and most of us live there full time. Wabi-sabi is the Japanese acceptance of imperfection and impermanence. It finds beauty in the cracked bowl, the weathered wood, the asymmetrical line. But underneath the aesthetic, there is a profound psychological truth. When you stop demanding perfection from your environment, and from yourself, you release an enormous amount of tension. The crack in the cup is not a flaw, it's evidence that the cup has been used, cared for, lived with. Modern psychology calls this self-compassion, the ability to hold your own flaws with the same kindness you'd offer a friend. Studies show it's one of the strongest predictors of resilience and long-term well-being. Wabi-sabi got there first. It just said it more beautifully. Rule 4. Ikigai. The reason you wake up. There is a village in Okinawa, Japan, where people routinely live past 100. Researchers studied everything: diet, genetics, social habits. What they found consistently was this: the people who lived the longest had a clear sense of Ikigai, a reason to get up in the morning. Ikigai is not your passion, it's not your job title, it's the intersection of four things: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. But here's the part most people miss. Ikigai doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as tending a garden, teaching a skill, or making a perfect cup of coffee for someone you love. The psychological research on meaning and purpose is clear. People who feel their daily actions matter in any scale experience significantly lower levels of anxiety and depression. You don't need to find your purpose this week, but ask yourself this: what is one thing you do that makes you feel like you? Start there. Rule 5. Soji. Cleaning as a mental reset. In Japanese schools, temples, and offices, work stops every day for a brief period of communal cleaning. Everyone participates, no exceptions. Not because the space is dirty, but because the act of cleaning is understood as mental discipline. This is Soji, morning cleaning as a daily ritual. Here is what is actually happening neurologically. Manual, repetitive tasks activate the default mode network of the brain, the same network associated with reflection, creativity, and emotional processing. Cleaning is not a break from thinking. Done with attention, it is a different kind of thinking, one that your prefrontal cortex, constantly overloaded by decisions, desperately needs. 10 minutes, one area, every morning, not to have a clean house, to have a clearer mind. Rule 6. Hara, hachi, bu. The 80% rule. Before every meal, people in Okinawa repeat a phrase: Hara, hachi, bu. It means, eat until you're 80% full. This is not a diet, it's a philosophy of restraint that extends far beyond food. The underlying principle is this: stop before the point of excess, not just with eating, but with buying, committing, consuming, producing. We live in a culture that celebrates more hustle, more content, more stuff. But there is a well-documented psychological cost to excess: decision fatigue, analysis paralysis, and what researchers call the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the less satisfied we feel with any of them. Hara Hachibu is a daily reminder to leave room. Room in your stomach, room in your schedule, room in your life. What would it mean for you to operate at 80%? Not barely, but intentionally, sustainably, without running on empty. Rule 7. Mono no aware. Letting things pass. The last principle is perhaps the most quietly powerful of all. Mono no aware is a Japanese phrase that translates roughly to the gentle sadness of things. It is the bittersweet awareness that everything is temporary, and the peace that comes from accepting that rather than fighting it. The falling cherry blossom is beautiful precisely because it falls. Modern psychology has a name for the resistance to this: the endowment effect. We overvalue what we own and what we know simply because it is ours. We hold on to jobs, relationships, identities, and objects long past the point where they serve us. Mono no aware invites a different relationship with time and change, not detachment, but presence. The ability to fully experience something while it's here and release it when it's gone. That is not loss. That is freedom. 7 rules. None of them require money. None of them require a dramatic life change. What they require is something much harder and much more rare: the willingness to pay attention. Because simplicity is not an aesthetic. It is not a design choice or a personality type. It is a daily decision to stop filling space, physical, mental, emotional, with things that don't actually serve you. And when you make that decision, something unexpected happens. You don't feel like you have less. You feel like you finally have room. Which one of these 7 principles spoke to you today? Let us know in the comments, because the best ideas don't stay in videos. They move into how you actually live.